Aloha. With this video, I wanted to share my perspective on the third eye and the artificial third eye that is being projected into our reality right now with all of this artificial intelligence, transhumanism, CERN talk, and this extraterrestrial alien information. I just wanted to, like, disclosure, I wanted to break down like what all this stuff is, because I had actually gone through that mindset for a while. And it's kind of like when you put it kind of like has a thing like when you put words to something, you take something away, because the language, like, you can't explain love in a word. So by putting it in a word, you're actually taking something away. I mean, this goes for language in general, but excuse me, in reference to the idea of the third eye, just those words kind of take it away, because it's not an eye. It's more like that's just one small fraction of what it is. When you think eye, you think, oh yeah, well, you're seeing something, and when you limit it to that language, it kind of takes it away. But to stay on course now, most people know what I'm talking about with that whole language thing. The third eye, when I thought my third eye was opening and all that other stuff, I was probably like 5 years ago. And I was really like on that kick, and it was just like, man, this is a real thing. But what was really happening was that something was changing in me, to where I was feeling more of my reality. I was feeling more of myself. I was experiencing more of my surroundings. I could really just tap in to a deeper layer of interpreting what was going on in this reality. And it wasn't something that was happening to me in a moment, kind of like psychedelics, anymore. It was more of a part of who I now was at that time. And the same way that you can't really explain love with the definition of the word love, you can't really explain your third eye opening with the definition of the third eye opening. I mean, it's a game that you're playing with yourself, pretty much, because this is how we can see ourselves. We see ourselves with language. We see ourselves with our surroundings. We see ourselves with the way we interpret our reality. This is why it's so important to break down and disassemble the systems that have been installed into our community, installed into our consciousness by this parasitic consciousness that can only survive based upon the host consciousness of the people. So dumbing down your consciousness is, in a sense, closing your third eye to keep it as basic math as possible. The mainstream media, the university system, the public education system, the so-called democratic and capitalistic system, the colonial system, the maritime admiralty system, the prison industrial complex, the fear programming, the military industrial complex, the lower vibes of this mentally adolescent adult society, everything within that culture, everything within that alchemy is designed to, in a sense, close your third eye. So if you can see that, excuse me, you can see what that does is, when you see something from the perspective of, like, when you see the third eye from the perspective of it being closed, it actually gives you more of a definition of what it means to have in a so-called open third eye. So actually, because you're not confining it, you're not forming it to fit some kind of definition of what it actually is, which is why it's so important to leave these definitions open, to leave the process open, because the third eye opening is not a thing that happens. It's a part of you that continually grows. So when you put a name on it, largely that's just to kind of capitalize on something that's different than the norm. And in this case, the norm is the closing of the third eye. So when you're saying that your third eye is opening, you're actually taking pride just by that statement. You're taking pride in something that's as natural as breathing. You're taking pride in something that's as natural as your heart beating. And when you take pride in something like that, it's just like putting words to something that needs no words. You take something away and you're confining it. So when I say that your third eye opening is as natural as breathing and your heart beating, that's to say that the system that's in place that keeps your third eye closed is unnatural. It's the most unnatural system that's out there. This is why all of the oceans are destroyed. This is why, or the ocean, there's only one ocean. This is why the ocean is being poisoned. This is why your air is being poisoned. When you see all of this, like when you know that you have solar energy, you have electrical energy, you have everything that's other than this so-called fossil fuel stuff that produces this carbon effect in the air. When you understand that the system is knowing what it's doing, then you have to understand the intent within that knowingness. Is the intent only to make money, or is their intent power through destruction, through fear, through creating more systems that contract your consciousness? So when you understand that, and you understand that this system has zero concern with your well-being, has zero concern with the balances of nature and the universal laws of our experience, it has zero concern with that. You can just look around. Look at this trending page. You can see this is not designed to, and I'm just using this as an example. This is not to put an expectation on YouTube, obviously, because this is known what Google, YouTube is for. Just like the public education system is known to be what it is. It's not there for, okay, so saying YouTube is here for your entertainment or social media is here for your networking and entertainment is like saying that the public education system is there for your intelligence. The public education system is there to provide you with something that's going to expand your intelligence. It's not there for that. It's there for conformity. It's there to shrink you down. So if you can understand your entire experience as a third eye, because the only reason why, or the main reason why the so-called third eye is such a big deal is because most people can't even see reality with their own two eyes. So you have people walking around talking about a third eye. Holy shit. I mean, something's really, you need to be paying attention to this. But this is the thing. This is the whole backwards and upside down and reversed programming that this system has people going. When you have the New Agers talking about the third eye and your Pleiadian and Andromedan brethren, and your channelers talking about this is me 700 years from now, and you have all of these different gurus and spiritual teachers telling you this and this and this. Meanwhile, the entire system that is maintaining the closing of your so-called third eye, the closing of your consciousness, is still expanding itself. It's expanding itself based upon the unaccountability through people focusing on one thing to not focus on something else. So it's the escape mechanism reality. A lot of people don't know what to do with the powerhouse that is the mainstream media, with the powerhouse that is the system of haves and have-nots as a whole. They don't know. So the best that they can do is stay positive. That's what the new age is based upon. That's what that whole love and light thing is. It's just stay positive. Stay positive. But that's the thing. It's not about only positive. This reality has a very definite balance with positive and negative, and the alchemy that has been used to contract consciousness, to keep all eyes closed, is based upon utilizing the negative alchemy in a way that kind of like black magic does. Black magic uses another kind of intent there. When you can understand that compassion, empathy, connection, there's a difference between compassion and empathy and love and light. There's more essence there. There's more to the definition of empathy. There's more to the definition of compassion than there is to the definitions of love and light. And you hear these words spatted all the time by the so-called powers that be. Oh, love and light, this whole thing. But you have to understand that these are commercials that are being played for you, no different than the trending page is being played for the majority of people to consume their reality and in the long run contract their consciousness. So I wanted to share this and make a short video real quick just to expand upon the idea of like my experience of the third eye and how I perceive it, and how I've been perceiving it over the last like 5 years, and how it's going to be used as part of the next agenda to sell in the idea of simulation theory, sell in the idea of expansion, and sell in the idea of something more. So you have all these new age people who still believe in the system. So they might have all of this third eye stuff that's out there, and they're keeping up with the whole like the cabal, the Illuminati, and all this information coming out. That is a confirmation that any information that they are receiving from the ethers, whatever it is, it still needs to be confirmed by the system itself. That's a difference between, that was the thing for me in reference to the new age. One of the other things for me in reference to the new age community is that it, as much as it was saying that it was expanding and it was becoming, you know, your third eye is opening and you're loving and connecting with people and this whole thing, it's untrue. It was just blatantly untrue, because the world that I came from in this plane of existence, growing up in Oakland, California, the people there still have things that are going on in reference, in direct reflection of what has happened in our recent past and in our not so recent past. Those effects are still, that magic, that alchemy is still affecting people today. And if you want to say that you're connecting and you're aware and all this other stuff, and you're telling yourself that just because you connect with the Pleiadians and the Andromedans that your third eye is opening, or you're connecting with some kind of, you can, whatever it is that you're telling yourself, and you're telling yourself at the same time, like, this is a connection, I've never felt so aware and all this other stuff. But there's a big ass box out there that says, don't look at this unless you want to challenge your current comfort level of awareness. And that box is the juggernaut that is the system, that is this mainstream reality. So this is the idea of the system itself, is to get people up to a certain level of vibration, but not so much to where they can go beyond the level of constraint, beyond the level of manipulation. They stay in a little bubble. There's information that's released in packets, and those packets are designed not to expand consciousness, but to limit consciousness. So you can see like a packet of awareness could be seen as like the public education system. It's not a thing there. When you package it up in a language like that, then you can see what it really is. It's a package. It's like, as soon as you came out of the womb and you showed up here, there was a Happy Meal called the public education system sitting in your bedroom until you are 5 years old. And then when you are 5 years old, you can open that up, and then you're supposed to be happy for the next 12, 13 years. So are we questioning that reality? Now a lot of people are, but before there was people taking pride in that reality, and that was the status quo. Whereas today people are starting to question that reality and link it all the way back to the very fabric of our universe through heliocentrism, questioning heliocentrism, and so on and so forth. The thing is, there's a lot of different people and different perspectives based upon different lifestyles. So you have people growing up in different countries who are privy to different parts of information, parts of the story, and some things don't even really matter to their immediate surroundings. Whereas in the United States, you have it's pretty much like the tip of the spear of this juggernaut that's just going across the earth plane and inflicting its bully sort of mentality, inflicting its illusions on the rest of the world, just like colonialism did. It's just the what's going on today is just neo-colonialism. Social media, the trending page that you're looking at right now, this is neo-colonialism. And you have to look at this. What did they do when they showed up to Australia and talked to the Aboriginal or the indigenous Australians? What did they tell them when they were there? They installed Christianity. They installed their so-called civilized way of life. And then in that welcoming, that wonderful, oh, this is for your benefit, they completely took over the lands and genocided an entire race of people. The Tasmanian people were completely genocided. So you have this system of killing you with kindness that has been the way of that world. So that's what the neocolonialism is killing you with kindness. So when you understand that, and then you understand the new version of that is the new age community. And what happens there is that when you have this idea of forgiveness and compassion and empathy and love and light and all the other key words that people throw out there, you have this idea that everything else that's bad doesn't exist, or everything else that's, on the negative frequency doesn't exist. And in your like frequency, so you say like, I don't vibrate on that frequency. Those are those people. Like, okay, well, I thought we were all one. What about that? Oh, well, different people are in different parts of their journey, and different people have different kind of karmic debts, and I'm not going to surround myself with people. Okay, I can understand that, but are you going to completely write them off? See, most people will say no, but the community itself as a whole has said, yes, we will write them off because it's up to them to do whatever it is they got to do. That completely takes out the intention of the system that's still alive today that profits off of that death and destruction. So all the profiteering that has come from genocide, slaughter, the mainstream media, the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex, the new age, by taking that stance, has inherently said that everything that's happening to those people it has nothing to do with anything or anybody else. There is no other intelligence that's working against anything. That is very dangerous, because what it does is it creates this, well, it kills all of the warriors, first off, because all of the warriors just shut down into this fluffy, cloudy, sort of happy-go-lucky, love and light limbo, where it's no different than being clouded by fear and hatred and self-hatred on the other side of the spectrum. So it's kind of like a cloud. There's a cloud before the threshold, and there's a cloud after the threshold of realizing yourself, or whatever people want to call opening up your third eye. So you'll have more paint to paint with. You'll have more words to write with when you have experienced something as extreme as like a psychedelic trip. This is not to say that it's required. I'm just saying that when people are talking about their third eye opening, they're talking about an awareness within this physical reality based upon the non-physical reality. So everything that you are that is more of who and what you are than the physical body could be seen as your third eye awareness. Now, when you put it into words like my third eye is opening and so on and so forth, as if this physical reality, what it does is that alchemy of this physical reality, of this parasitic consciousness, it gives them or it too much credit. If you're saying your third eye is closed, that gives this system too much credit. If you're saying your third eye is open, it actually removes the actual essence of what the third eye is. And that's my point here, because I just wanted to share that and share this alchemy of how this is being conducted, how this is being put out in your atmosphere. So in order, it's kind of like the bell curve in like school. It's as long as you have a group or a collective of some sort that is totally dumbed down, totally so-called asleep, their so-called third eye is completely closed, then, I mean, like extremely closed. This is what the mainstream media is. When you see people like just completely ridiculous actions in their life, like not at all there spiritually, psychologically, or even physically, just completely zombified. When you have that, when you have people dumbed down so much, you don't have to sell to the so-called smart population much of anything. So if you're feeding people dirt, like the masses of the have-nots are being fed dirt and they're maintaining, they can stay alive. When they're fed dirt, you only have to feed the rest of the masses, including the people that work for you, the people who are trying to maintain the haves and the have-nots program. So your so-called rich people, your so-called wealthy. If people are being held down by eating dirt, you only have to feed the so-called wealthy. You only have to feed them crackers, bread and circus. That's the only thing that you have to feed them. And since they're a part of the bread and circus, they think that they feel with every part of their essence that they have made it, that they have done it. This is what this colonial mindset has done. This is what the Roman Empire has done and is still doing. So this neo-colonialism, this neo-Rome is your social media, is everything that you're seeing in this mainstream media. Everything that is coming out of this system, from the public education to the university system, is designed to maintain that kind of thought process. It's to maintain your idea that you're better than the next person, or you're worse than the next person. Whatever kind of bubble you want to keep yourself in that allows you to maintain an even keel. Some people maintain an even keel by staying angry all the time. Some people maintain their even keel by being afraid all the time. People will never leave the house. Other people maintain their even keel by filling their world with love and light, supposedly. And other people maintain their even keel by, bombarding themselves by the system. It's just saying, I just got to, I got work, I got kids, whatever it is, I got to provide, this is what I'm doing. So they do that. And there's nothing wrong with that, because every single one of us has gone through that process in our own way, in our own time. So to go back to the third eye thing is, let me just close this out, because I didn't want to let this video go on for so long. While you're looking at the trending page right now, is to give a contrast of what I was explaining as far as like awareness, so you can understand even language, words. So if words can take away from the true essence of what you're really feeling or what you're trying to express, what do you think video and imaging is doing with the intent to contract your consciousness? So if a mere word like love can destroy what love actually is in the interaction between people, because it's so dead and there's nothing else surrounding it. It's just this thing that's just kind of like the elephant in the room. It's a thing. If that is the case, if that's an actual thing that exists, what do you think video imaging is doing? What do you think the education system is doing? So the education system could be seen as like love. All right, they love you, so they want you to be educated, right? That's what they're telling you. We did this for you. But is that there for your education? Hell no. Same way the mainstream media does. So this is a complex version of the public education system, just like heliocentrism is a complex version of mind controlling you the same way that the education system does. So this is the entertaining way. This is what maintains that even keel of nothingness, of dirt, of crackers, the bread and circus. And since people are thinking outside of the destructive world of a parasitic consciousness, they think their damn third eye is opening. So people who have been eating dirt their entire lives start eating crackers, all of a sudden their damn third eye starts opening. Get the hell out of here with all that bullshit. You went from one cloud to another cloud. You went from one cloud to another cloud. And who is the producer in that cloud? Who's the director of that cloud? It's still you playing a game with yourself. So anytime we put these words to all this other stuff, we're just killing it. We're killing it. You have to allow for expansion. This is the thing that happens. People get into a box. So say there's a box in front of you. It's huge. It's bigger than the box you're in right now. So you jump inside that box. That box is labeled third eye. When you jump inside that box starts to close around you. And when it closes around you, you start to expand because you're still growing. Every day you wake up in the morning, you're still doing something. So you wake up in the morning and you're expanding. You're going to get to the barriers, the walls of that box. Because the definitions of your third eye opening are based upon the structure of that box, and the structure of that box is based upon the people who are around you telling you what the hell the third eye is, when the whole thing is non-physical in the first place and your third eye was never closed. This colonial, destructive, cheap ass alchemy that this system has put out there is not strong enough to close your damn third eye. You are not strong enough to close your third eye. Saying any of that shit is an illusion. It's an illusion to make ourselves comfortable. You tell yourself that you're opening your third eye because you know you have work to do. You stay away from looking into information about what the third eye really entails because you know you have work to do. And that's the thing with this experience. There's no timeline that's out there that is outside of your consciousness. Like you are the one that's at the helm of your timeline. Nobody else or nothing else is out there. Your third eye is always open. It's kind of like dreaming. Saying your third eye is closed is kind of like saying, oh, I don't dream. First of all, who is the I in that sentence? Because if you knew who the I was in that sentence, you'll realize that the I, when you're dreaming, isn't limited to the I in this little funky ass illusion that you're calling the physical reality. This 1% of the essence of who you are is the physical reality. So you're talking about your third eye. You're still locked into the 1% of your physical reality, and you're not even anchoring yourself in the 99% of your physical reality, because every part of your perspective is still being defined in reaction to this fake, cheap ass alchemical system. This is the definition, it's the essence, it's the root structure of the New Age community, is to be in reaction to. This is why a lot of people in the New Age community are still in that whole money grind. They can't let go of that shit. They can't let go. They can't comprehend truly being connected with other people. So they have to create prescription drugs like, oh, well, that's their karmic debt, or that's those people. That's bullshit. That's just another version of the education system. What do you think the education system is doing? Do you think it's telling you the depths of history? It's telling you the depths of this alchemy that is this system? No, it's avoiding it so it won't be revealing itself. So is the New Age really looking into that information? No, it's avoiding it. So it has the same intent as the mainstream media. And when you look at this bullshit, you look at this mentally adolescent adult mentality that's out there, you can see it being manipulated into your world. And this is just the precursor. This is just the actual work that's being projected into your reality, so that you don't actually look into or question what the system is providing for you, or the next Happy Meal, basically. So when I explained earlier about the Happy Meal sitting in your room from when you were born to when you're 5 years old, transhumanism, simulation theory, and the New Age realm, the New Age perspective of this reality, is the new Happy Meal. Some people get that Happy Meal sooner than others. The thing is, are you going to stay in that Happy Meal box? We were forced to stay in the Happy Meal box of the public education system for over a decade. For people who went through the public education system, that's a lot of mind control. And it takes a long time to break that mind control. Entire lifetimes for many people. And what's happening now is that people are cracking open the box of that mind control program, seeing the light that's coming in, because they're opening the box of that thing, that's been clouding their expansion for so long. And because that light is coming in that box, they're saying, I'm awakened, I'm comfortable, I'm here. We're here, you're here, we're one, it's all love and light. But they never get out the box. They never leave the Happy Meal. They stay confined in their channeling community. They stay confined in their oneness and love and light and guru community. It's never challenged. See, that's the thing with dreams. And I explained this earlier with dreams. Before you start to get to complex dream states, to start to play with the lucidity of your dreams, you have to first be able to understand, and overstand what your emotional body is. Because your emotional body is kind of like the heart chakra in reference to your non-physical bodies. It's a bridge between your physical and non-physical reality. It's a challenge. It's an inherent challenge within this system that you're born into. You're born into this experience where the emotional body transcends the physical experience. So, and this comes from when you were born. The thing is, like when you cry as a baby, it works for a certain purpose up to a certain point. But if you keep crying afterwards, it's going to work against you. And this is what's happening, like energetically. People are still crying when they're living their lives in reaction to this system. So by saying that, that's just to say that people are limiting themselves to the emotional body of this reality. In reference to dreams, when you limit yourself to the emotional body, or to say when you don't have any kind of control over what your emotional body is in reference to who and what you are physically and non-physically. When you don't have any understanding of what's going on with your emotional body, it can consume you. And in your dream space, your emotional body can consume you so much because your emotions in your dream space are something like 1,000,000 times more intense than they are in your waking space, because the way time is, the way you are feeling so much more because you are more of yourself. Not to say that it's more like literally more than yourself. It's just you are tuning into more of yourself. Your physical reality is as much of yourself. It's as important as anything else in this reality that involves your life force energy. There's a meaning and purpose there. The thing is, what I'm saying is that in order to allow us to expand and continually grow, you have to be challenged. The challenge in the dream space is to first, and in the waking space, because in order to challenge your emotional body in the dream space, you have to first be aware of the emotional body in the physical reality, in this density. If you can't understand what's going on in the density of the physical reality, you're going to be telling fairy tales to yourself in the non-physical reality or the subconscious reality, and then you're going to be spinning your wheels. So basically that's what's happening in the New Age community. People are telling themselves that they are something because they've seen the answer column in the back of the book, but they never did the work. And if you can, and most people don't even know that book or that experience of themselves even exists. It's kind of like the people who have been eating dirt, and it was like looking at those people eating them biscuits and like, damn, the biscuits look good. That's some good. I can't wait till I get some biscuits. Right now, I'm just going to do what I got to do and keep making this dirt. Keep making this dirt. I got to feed my kids this dirt, man. You know, some people out there don't even have dirt. Some people don't even have dirt. So you better be happy with what you got. So what's happening is people are living in this world that is been de-evolved, downsized consciously into a reactionary interpretation of their reality. So when you talk about the third eye, people are like, oh, my third eye is open. The fucking thing was never closed in the first place. You were just telling yourself it was because you were living in an illusion. So when you tell yourself that your third eye is opening, you're telling yourself that something happened. What was that something? Well, that's something that you tell yourself is going to be based upon the consciousness that you are in that moment. In that moment, that individual that you are still has a bunch of density that it hasn't cleared out yet. All of that stuff could be seen as like crust in your third eye. And a lot of people still got these crunchy ass, eye booger ass third eyes out there talking about I'm awakened or my third eye open. Sit your simple ass down with all that nonsense and allow yourself to really kind of figure out what. See, this is what happened to me when I started making YouTube videos in 2012. It was like late 2012. And what happened was I was smoking a lot of weed. I was hanging out with my friends that were like on the same kind of journey and the same kind of path. Like we were questioning our reality. We were like asking about aliens and technology and the non-physical reality and all this spirituality. We were doing all of that. And in that process, it's kind of like in that same process, like it can be akin to like falling in love. So basically, like your third eye opening is kind of like falling in love with yourself. But that's the thing. There's a difference between falling in love with yourself and realizing that you were never not in love with yourself. In every moment. That's the thing. Your third eye is always open. You're always in love with yourself. It's just so complex, this experience. If it wasn't complex, you wouldn't be doing it. You wouldn't wake up in the morning if it wasn't as complex as it is. Why? Why would you? So when we confine ourselves to definitions, to these illusions based upon reaction, that's when you're going to start to create another universe that's based upon synthetic observations of your realities. And a lot of things are going to get left out, and a lot of people are going to get left behind. And it's up to those individuals. It's not up to you. It's up to those individuals, and they're a part of you. So if there's a system that's keeping people from, in a sense, letting go of that density, if there's a system, like this is why I comment on this, is because the New Age system is designed to make you think that you are changing something, but only in reaction to. If you're changing something only in reaction to, that's a different world. It's a different universe. If you're just changing something, knowing that you're constantly changing and expanding for the rest of your experience, that's a world that is not confined by any boxes, by any labels, by any language. And this system has set up a very structured, a very obvious program that is going to continue expanding itself based upon people not being able to break out of the illusory boxes that have been generated for them. So when you look at this is a very obvious design. So the trending ad is designed to maintain, like I said, the adolescent adult mentality. This is why gaming is in your face all the time. Look at the top: music, live, gaming, news, rewind. You're rewinding the information that they have mind controlled you with. You're looking at the news that they want you to know to keep you dumb. You're looking at the games that they've provided for you to maintain your distraction, to maintain your limited consciousness. You're looking at the live information that is no different than the news, that is just pre-recorded information designed to do the same thing. And obviously the music is just another way of seeping that, all of those systems into your reality as deep as they can go, because music cuts deep. It goes deep into your system. This is why they use a lot of these celebrities, these musicians, these artists, these athletes, these actors. They use them to promote the reality that they want you to lock yourself into. They use people. They couldn't do it if they weren't using people. So these people are the ones who are maintaining that system. The people in the New Age community, the people in Hollywood, the people in politics, the people in the conspiracy world, the people in the flat earth community, the people in your scientism community telling you what your universe is about. Those are the individuals who are affecting your consciousness and telling you that your third eye is closed, or your third eye is not woke, or you got your whatever it is. It's a box. So when you conform yourself to a box, that's the thing. And I don't want to make it seem like, see, it's only bad when it gets to a certain point, because everybody's putting themselves in particular boxes to get to a certain point. You have to have some kind of surrounding, some kind of edges to experience who and what you are. So if you're just imagine it like a dot floating in the infinite emptiness of, just for example purposes, obviously, of space. Like if there was nothing there and you were just this conscious dot, well, there's no real math there, because everything is infinite. So you can't really reflect on who and what you are, because there's nothing around you. But if you create a circle around that dot, or some kind of barrier around that dot, no matter how big it is, you can work some math in there. You can start to see more of a reflection of yourself based upon your surround. Now you have a universe, you have a surrounding. So what happens is, or what's been happening is, that this system has created a very tiny circle in the everlasting expanse of what your consciousness is, what your so-called third eye is. So like I said in the last video, when I was talking about the university system creating boxes, like the box of heliocentrism, well, the box of Homo sapien is another thing. No matter what you call it, it's another thing to keep you confined. Whatever it is that they're telling you is not for your benefit. No matter how much science and math they can try to back it up with, it's not for your benefit. It's for your confinement. People are in prison calling themselves free. This is what's going on right now. This shit that you're looking at right now, this is a prison. It's a mainstream prison. And it's designed to, quote unquote, keep your third eye closed. So that your third eye is so closed that when you break free from it and go into the New Age community, your third eye is open. They created an experience for you, a life-changing experience for you. And as long as you stay in that box, you're done for. So, I'll close it out on this. You can see the programming here. What these individuals do is they create a belief system in this reality. You love this system because you love these people. Even if you don't know them, you relate to them. Their consciousness feels it. Look at the thumbnails. Look at the way it's so real. It's like part of your life, but just outside of your life too. It's entertaining and whatever it is, it's catchy. It's very universal in reference to that mainstream world. It catches a lot of people from age groups to culture, backgrounds, whatever it is. This is the way this is designed, but it has a very specific intent here. So you're looking at all this like, oh, Al Franken resigns, as if the system is changing. That's what this thing is existing for. The rest is distraction. There's your heliocentric programming and your fear programming. Like I mentioned like 2 videos ago, this whole NASA plans to save Earth from a giant asteroid. That's a real thing. And they make it even more real in your reality when they put Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck on a space shuttle and shoot them out into the nothingness of was that Star Walker Studios? No, it's not Star Walker. What is his name? Luke Skywalker. Skywalker Studios. So yeah. They're just making videos. And they're playing your heartstrings, keeping you in your emotional body. That's what I was talking about. The alchemy of this system, one of the biggest alchemies of this system that the system uses against you, like I said, the emotional body is inherent in the system. When you cry, your mother brings you the milk. She brings you comfort. She brings you warmth, protection. So this is what the emotional body is. It's very ingrained in the system. The so-called powers that be know this. They use that alchemy. You think they're using it for you, to help you, to expand your consciousness, to make you grow, to heal you? No, they're using it backwards, upside down, and reversed. They're selling it to you in a different way. But since it's still dealing with the emotional body, you think it's okay. You love it. You accept it in your reality. And these people that believe in this system make you, they make you think like that. So you see all their smiles. You hear the so-called positive information like universal basic income explained coming out of here. And then what that also does is make you like love and hope and pray for this system to do something like that. They make new celebrities with their YouTube Rewind. They make quirky, technological, starting from nothing people, make them famous, and then, put them on the trending page. Keep the celebrities in your face. Keep the comedy going. Keep the cartoons in there. Keep the dancing and the stardom mentality out there. They keep it. Saturday Night Live is another example. It's a good example of how the overall mainstream program works, but in a more shrunk down version. So every week you see a new SNL sketch, and there's a whole bunch of politics in there where they're trying to get you to think a certain way based upon a weekly thing. No different than every day there's something going on with Donald Trump in late night talk shows. Every day mainstream news, local news, social media. This is designed to keep you in a box, keep you dead. And as long as you're in that dead box, you're easily moved. You're easily manipulated. So this is what this entire system is. It's designed to make you think and act a certain way. Meanwhile, they're stealing the land right underneath your feet. They're stealing the energy from your non-physical existence, from you focusing on a consciousness that has nothing to do with, for example, like your third eye. They're telling you your third eye is closed, but your third eye is really open. What do you think they're doing with that energy of that third eye being open? They're harnessing it. They can only harness that energy if they had first told you and convinced you that it was closed. The trending page, social media, mainstream media, the intent of this is to project into your reality masses of people, individuals and large groups of people that are so ingrained with this system, they are so a part of this consciousness that their very beingness exudes that mainstream stench in every word they say, in every facial expression, in every response, in everything that they wear. It just bleeds this destructive parasitic consciousness. And since it's so well dressed, since it smells so sweet, you ever walk into like a Bed Bath and Beyond and almost die because of all the perfume and all that scent in the air? Well, that's what the mainstream media is. But the thing is, people don't realize that they're being poisoned. They're buying all that soap. They're buying all that shit, putting it on their bodies, putting it on their babies' bodies, even eating a lot of it. I mean, it's in every aspect of your reality. So this is what the intent is, not only to promote fear and trigger your emotional body, but to also kind of like vicariously indoctrinate your consciousness into this belief system. That's what the trending page, the mainstream media, the colonial world is based upon. Manipulating your consciousness to adjust itself to a box because other people have and they're so-called successful. So you are constantly bombarded by the extremes of destructive intelligence, destructive things that are going on, and wonderful things. So you have all these, like that guy saving that rabbit. Then you have like, marriage and reproduction, and you have like beauty and movies and all this other stuff. You have people clapping back. Oh, snap. She clapped back on some racism. Snap. Got back in there. So, what is this? 7-Eleven makeup, Star Wars, see ya, ho, ho, ho. Anyway, I'll get into that. Or I pretty much already went through that. But this is another way of how they kind of expand upon it, and I'll go through this real quick. You know what I'm talking about when I mention this stuff, but this is what makes you think that ultimately this is when they project something like this, Person of the Year, Time Magazine. They're very important. That's what this is. They're very important. And not only them, but what they were addressing, what they're speaking on, what matters to them, what made them the person of this year. What did they do this year that made them the person of the year? What were they talking about? Well, they were talking about Bernie Sanders, women's rights, ... Boom, you're the person of the year. Why? Because we want people to only think on the level of consciousness that is based upon the subjects that are very near and dear to you, the consciousness that is very near and dear to you. And the consciousness that you exude is beneficial to our shrinking down, our contraction of consciousness program that's based upon keeping people enslaved. So thank you, actor Ashley Judd. Thank you, Taylor Swift. Thank you, everybody else who is out there to work for this system to keep people's minds enslaved in this destructive consciousness, in this parasitic consciousness. That's what they're saying when they approach these people and say, we're going to make you Time or people of the person of the year in Time magazine cover, so on and so forth. It's not designed to, help you think about and jump on board with what they're talking about. It's to co-opt what they were talking about. And in that co-opting, it's killing it. It's going to kill it. So the same thing that's going on with Colin Kaepernick talking about whatever he's talking about, they put him on all these covers and they put him on all these shows. That's them trying to kill what he's talking about. That's not them trying to change. It's making it look like it's changing, but it's not. They're co-opting it the same way the system's going to do with flat Earth. And this is what I wanted to get into. Do robots deserve the same rights as humans? And this is what's happening with the New Age community, this Sophia robot, this artificial intelligence, this CERN program, the, did I say simulation theory and I think I said that already. Anyway, space and these light years and light speed and all this other stuff. Everything within that system is designed to shrink you down, like I said. Now that you know that, what do you think they're going to do when they convince you into a world that has told you that you're nothing more than a robot? See, a robot, that's what Sophia is. Sophia is going to get so-called smart, and it's going to look like she evolved. That's why they're making that. She's the beta unit. It's the beta unit, that Sophia thing. It's the beta unit. They already have Sophia iPhone 10. They already have that. But in order to maintain all the illusions in and around your experience, they have to make it look like this is where our technology is. So 10 years from now, you buy into it because you think it's organic. It's not organic. It's artificial. Literally, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence itself is it's an illusion. The same way you know that they had the iPhone 10 however many years ago, very decades ago. But the reason why they held it back is because they needed to make a profit off of your dumb ass. So the same thing's happening with Sophia. They're making a profit off of your dumb ass consciousness because you're believing artificial intelligence is a real thing in 10 years from now, a real thing in reference to who and what you are, non-physically. Your supercomputer, your soul. They're trying to make artificial intelligence equivalent to the consciousness of your soul. And when they evolve the dumbass consciousness, this cheap machinery that is called Sophia from 2016 all the way to 2026, then it makes it real for you. They're making a relationship with you by the mainstream media. What makes it more real is when you have an entire nation like Saudi Arabia that gives this thing a passport, or it says that it's a citizen now. It's a citizen. That thing is a citizen. It's making it equivalent to your reality. So what that does is that when it becomes smarter than you, supposedly, what are you now? A nothing. You're a piece of shit. And the only way you can not be a piece of shit is if the system puts technology into you. If the system does something that merges you with their idea of smartness and all that other stuff. This is just another thing that I wanted to get to another slide. I was going to use for another video, but oh well, it's there. So I'll get there in a second, because the slide, I think it's like 2 slides from now, it's more, it it more relates to what I'm talking about. But this, while I'm here, most people will choose a familiar misery over foreign happiness. While I'm here, I'll expand upon that a little more. It's true. People already know this, but this is what the mainstream media does. It makes that misery more familiar. So messing with your emotional body, selling you that alchemy of the trending page of the mainstream media, not looking at particular information, expanding other particular information, like contracting your consciousness and expanding expanding or inflating fear, inflating the ideas of, lower interpretations of your reality. Even mainstream religion does the same thing too. It's not designed to make you close. It's like the public education system. It's a happy meal. People have questions about their non-physical reality. Oh, here you go. Here's your happy meal. Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, whatever it is, based upon where you were raised, where you were born, there's a happy meal there for you. So you have the intellectual happy meal, you have the spiritual happy meal, you have the interrelational happy meal, like what love is, what, your, all this other nonsense that's out there. They tell you what your world is. And in that indoctrination over time, just like the public education system's got you for 13 years, that misery becomes more familiar than your idea of happiness. Happiness is foreign to you. Consciousness is foreign to you. Your third eye that's already open is now foreign to you. It's so foreign to you that you think just because you're not beating the shit out of yourself anymore, because you've been eating dirt all that time, you cross some kind of threshold. Now you're eating biscuits and you're saying, oh, my third eye is open. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. It's like, what are you talking about? You're playing another illusion. You jump from one cloud to another cloud. So the system is designed to maintain a familiar misery. And when people, generations upon generations, get so familiar with that, they don't even give a shit about being happy anymore, because misery is the new happiness. This is what's happened in this whole colonial mindset. When people cannot even acknowledge the history of this so-called system that's wonderful for people. You can't even acknowledge the foundations, the pillars of this destructive and parasitic system. You can't even talk about the Native Americans. You can't talk about genocide. You can't talk about the destruction of the land. You can't talk about this destructive plastic-filled ocean. You can't talk about chemtrails. You can't talk about the psychological chemtrails. You can't talk about the education system. You can't talk about the cosmology of your universe. You can't question your reality. You shut your damn mouth. You go back to work and you be happy with this familiar misery that we've been indoctrinating into the generations before you. They were happy with their misery. You're ungrateful for being unhappy with this misery that we have done so much for. It's taken so long to create this misery for you. You're ungrateful. And that's the status quo of what's going on right now. And like when I mention racism, and I'm going to get to a slide like this in a second, or that goes into this in a second. When I mention racism, this is the thing, another thing you can't even reference. Like I was talking about genocide, you can't even reference racism, even if you give proof that there's something psychologically out there that's still existing today. See, the New Age doesn't want to look at that. They want to pride themselves in the idea that they have changed, and they don't give a shit about anything or anybody else. So they haven't done anything within understanding, understanding, and overstanding what racism actually is, both physically and non-physically. They've just put that reality called racism or mind control based upon illusions in a box, and they put it in a closet somewhere and said, I'm fucking enlightened. My third eye is open because I'm not stepping on Lego blocks on the floor of racism anymore. I've picked up those Lego blocks and I put them in the closet. And now my world is so clear. It's so wonderful. Best believe them skeletons in that closet are eventually going to start creeping out of there. In this life or the next, you're going to have to address what's going on. So this stuff still exists in your so-called judicial system. This is the essence of the prison industrial complex. This lady threw her newborn out the window and she got probation. It's people in jail right now that third strike bullshit from Clinton. People still looking for Clinton, the same thing. Bill and Hillary, same thing. It's people in jail right now with that 3 strikes bullshit back in the 90s for possession of weed. This lady threw her newborn human infant out the window and she got probation. You want to tell me racism in this shit doesn't exist or it doesn't matter? Go to another page. Go to another channel. And this is another version of how the system keeps people. It's a more obvious version of mind control. Whenever they feel threatened by her boldness and strength, they will call her angry black woman. Same thing happens for like me. I can't raise my voice. See, a person like me who raises my voice, it feels different. It means something different when somebody else raises their voice. Other people who do not look like me or sound like me or speak with the same kind of conviction that I have in my, not in my voice, but in my essence of who I am. Other people are like this too. You can't say certain things. You can't, like, it's more offensive to people or people see it a certain way. A lot of that, the majority of that is because of the mind control conditions that they have been indoctrinated with their entire lives. Now that's something that I and other people have to deal with, no different than racism and something like that, and what they do to control people and deflect back onto somebody else or something else is something like this. If they feel threatened, they call you angry. That maintains power and control over the engagement, and that's what this whole system is about: control over the engagement, to avoid being revealed for what it truly is, a mind control program to lock you down. So what do you have to do now when they call you angry? You have to pull back a little bit, and then you have to change everything. That's a form of control. So they call grown, black men thugs and gangsters when they're just protesting, or when they're just speaking out against something, or they won't even televise any kind of something like that. They'll keep it on the hush-hush, and they'll just televise these weak-minded ass, effeminized, completely indoctrinated into this system individuals to make you think that the time is only based upon what they tell you it is, how they tell you it's going to move. So this is a slide I wanted to get to. Before I get there, let me get to this one. So while I'm on the racism talking, I'll get back to, I don't know what the next one was. Yeah, stop using Vaseline. That shit's so bad. I know people that put that shit on their body. Like lotion. It's so bad. Don't use it. So racism. So this is a very complex tweet right here. Racism is so American that when we protest racism, some assume that we're protesting America. Is that true? Yes. But a deeper truth is the foundations, the pillars of the United States of America, what she's really talking about, the foundations of America, the United States of America, are built on racism. A lot of the strength that came from this juggernaut that is the colonial United States empire, the extension of Rome, Neo-Rome, is a result of alchemy that's been used against the masses, like racism, specifically racism. So this is another way of controlling movement. So you believe into the belief systems of somebody like Beyonce as if she gives a shit about who and what you are. Just like the people who are laughing and saying everything is wonderful in this world. No, it's not. It's only wonderful for the people who have, for lack of a better terminology, sold their soul to this system. And they want you to vicariously sell your souls to this system through beliefs in them. So when they tell you this, that's a level of consciousness. You can approach this kind of system based upon the level of consciousness. This tweet right here is basically the same kind of vibration as Black Lives Matter. Is Black Lives Matter is that addressing the cause of what's going on? Or is it merely talking about the effect? It's never getting into the cause. It's taking this weak-minded, shallow interpretation of the side effects, but it never gets to the cause. And in fact, it deflects from the cause. It's the biggest deflection of the cause, because it's never going. You love this kind of work. You love these kinds of words being pieced together. And in that love, it locks in your reality. It locks in your clock, your understand, or your ability to expand. Because just like Obama did when he got into the office, he shut everybody up because everybody was so happy and proud that they got their first black president that they just waited for him to do something when he was never there to do anything other than to shut you up, which is exactly what happened. He was no different than this individual that you're looking at right now. She is no different than the intent that he was. And this statement is another confirmation, no different than George Soros funding Black Lives Matter. It's the same kind of thing, the same kind of effect it has on people. It shuts them down. So yes, if you really want to address the essence, the cause, the roots of racism, you won't be able to do that unless you are addressing the cause, the foundation, and the roots of the United States of America. Anything less than referencing the foundation of the United States of America is not even getting into the definition or the addressing of racism as we know it today. So you can see how this is the very complex, and they use their heavy hitters like Beyonce to sell these complex systems out there. That's why Black Lives Matter was such a big thing out there. This is another a good example of what I was just explaining. It's a dead end. They create all of these barriers for you, but it's only to give you the illusion that it's the Happy Meal. That house up there, they put that house in your face all day, every day. They put that house in your face all day, every day, but they will never show you the intent of the rest of this image like they're showing you now. Student loan debt, medical debt, and all these other barriers that are out there. And that's what maintains this alchemy, is that you're constantly living in that house up there at the top. And you're just saying, well, I'm proud of this house every day because you see it every day. And you're not going to question any of the realities of those walls, those barriers that are inherently keeping you away from that house. And since other people have houses, you just think it's just fine and dandy. So human testing begins. Brain implants to change moods controlled by AI. When your moods start to be controlled by a robot, you become a robot. You're not human anymore. This is the intent of transhumanism. This is the intent of that system. Is to maintain that sort of equilibrium of technology and the non-physical reality, which is why you have to be convinced that your existence has no meaning and no purpose. Because if your existence has no meaning and no purpose, then they can create an artificial intelligence that can surpass nature, that can surpass the Most High existence. And when they create a technology that does that, it puts another check on their artificial block that says, we are God. The university system is God. It has created something that is better than what God created. I don't like using that term God, but like that word God, but you know what I mean. It hits people harder when you use it sometimes. So that's why I use it. I usually say the Most High, or what existence, or whatever it is. The creative intelligence that is the macrocosm of the microcosm that is the smaller creative intelligences and the destructive intelligences, the balances of the reality. But there is a creative intelligence that is in and around all of these different experiences that we can perceive, subconscious, conscious, so on and so forth. So what the university system is doing to maintain its idea of godly equivalence is to use you as that bridge. They're using you as the bridge to make them artificial gods. Through you giving away your consciousness, through you giving away your natural existence to their synthetic idea of reality. And when they start controlling your emotions and your body, and they put this stuff in your body with technology, that is one of the first big formalized steps into a new kind of de-evolution. But of course, they're going to sell it to you as what? Evolution. And that's how this whole system works. De-evolution, evolution. And they're going to sell it to you from the worst of the worst to the best of the best. They're going to sell it to you with the fear of World War III and getting hit by a damn asteroid. And they're going to sell it to you with the idea of love and light and compassion and aliens and connected with all this other stuff from the other side of the spectrum. And since they're playing those extremes, they know the people who aren't allowing themselves to think for themselves are just going to fall somewhere in between. And that's exactly where they want people. Falling in between the spectrum of fear and love. Falling within the spectrum of positive and negative, and never knowing what's going on with the whole dance. Stuck in limbo. So this is what I wanted to share with this video. I wanted to relate a lot of the information of the third eye with a lot of these so-called movements, like the Flat Earth movement, the New Age movement, and really just kind of break it down to the observation of your reality, your consciousness, and what's really going on here with like how we perceive our reality. It's a difference there than what we've been told. So thank you for joining me, and until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.